Hey guys, it's Zenith Darksky here with another episode of the Darksky Gaming Podcast. Thank you all, first of all, for all of the listens and whatnot on the first episode. Surprisingly, first episode back in season 3 here. It's doing a lot better than I thought it would do, coming back after a year of being gone. So that's crazy. So thank you guys. The second episode here is something that I've wanted to dabble in since the very first season I did this, but the guests at the time that I had, my co-hosts at the time, they're great dudes, Bearded and Simfish, shout out to them, but they're not huge on Star Wars lore and Star Wars games and everything, so I just never brought it up, but here we are today, and that's what we're going to be talking about, and welcome. So, with me today, I have the Holocron Librarian. For those of you that don't know, he's a IRL friend of mine, but he also knows way more about Star Wars than I could ever hope to know. And he's going to have his own podcast soon, and we will tell you guys about that a little bit later. But the general video games that we're going to start off here talking about Star Wars games and stuff is the Knights of the Old Republic era. And we're going to get into some newer games and stuff later as well, and talk about some theories for other games and stuff as well. But yeah, the Holocron Librarian, do you want to maybe introduce us to the Knights of the Old Republic era?
Yeah, of course, and thanks for having me today. So, Knights of the Old Republic. This falls in around the 3,950 years before the Battle of Yavin and the destruction of the Death Star. So this is going way back. This is going farther back than what we've ever seen on screen, and even farther back than the new High Republic trilogy that might be coming out. Um, so a little history on it is before the Kotor games released, um, your your antagonist is Darth Revan himself, and what really turned Darth Revan from the Jedi Order, which he originally was from, to the Dark Lord of the Sith, it was the Mandalorian Wars. Um, the Republic was getting just hammered. These neutral systems in the Outer Rim were just getting neo-crusaded by the Mandalorians. And Revan himself decided that because the Jedi Order was not going to step in and assist the Republic when the time had come, and that had already been decided before the Republic even knew about the Mandalorians, um, he decided, after countless planets had just been ravaged and destroyed by the Mandalorian Neo Crusaders, that he wasn't just going to sit by and let these people die. So Revan himself actually took a couple of his friends, fellow Padawans, from the Order on Dantooine, and pretty much went out and searched for other Jedi masters and Padawans alike that felt the same way, and he just didn't find anybody. They were so dedicated to the Order then, after the original Sith War not happening, but 50 years before the events of the KOTOR series. They just didn't want to go back to war because they saw what it did to Ulic Qel-Droma and Exar Kun, even Freeden Nad, one of the original Sith Lords. They just weren't going to do it. And Revan said, fuck that. As the Mandalorian Wars continued on, and Revan had finally rallied followers, and after the onslaught of the Mandalorians just kept happening, and they were just whooping the Republic a new one, Revan stepped in, And this dude was a master strategist. He was brilliant with it.
Hell yeah.
And he just started the Republic started seeing victory after victory of, where it'd been months of stalemates. And keep in mind, these Mandalorian Wars went on for when they actually started raiding to the time that they were stopped. That was 16 years of just
Just war.
almost complete genocide. Yeah,
Yeah.
of certain species. The Cathar, these cat-like people, completely defenseless. The Mandalorians went in, wanted their planet. They weren't gonna have it, and the Mandalorians were just like, "Well, I don't care. We're taking it." And they herded these people off of cliffs.
Jesus.
90% of the entire population of the planet was wiped out. And it's actually cool to say that it's from the Fett line, like from the Fett bloodline. So the same people who really just conquered as true Mandalorians wanted to, like they were just warriors. It was in their blood. They couldn't help it.
Right.
They couldn't just sit idly by after in the first Sith War with Exar Kun. Ulic Qel-Droma killed Mandalore the Indomitable, and the Mandalorians were just like, "Holy crap! Like, we'd follow this guy."
Right.
And they got supplies, they got everything that they would need for this war. It's like they had almost planned it, or they were puppets of the Sith in reality, um, because the Mandalorian Wars were also known as the War of Conversion for Jedi. All the Jedi that decided to join the fight with the Republic against the Mandalorians, a lot of them, so many of them actually, ended up falling to the dark side.
Right.
And I mean, that's what really kicks you into KOTOR 1, which I guess let's dabble on the Battle of Malachor 5. Well, no, we can talk about that when we get to the second game, because you get to return to Malachor 5, the planet that ended the Mandalorian Wars, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's a little backstory, man. It's just, the Mandalorian Wars were what caused Revan to turn to the dark side,
Right.
and when the Mandalorian Wars were over, after the Battle of Malachor 5 and the mass shadow generator, he knew he couldn't go back to the Council. And so he disappeared.
Yeah.
And he came back with a fleet unimaginable from the outer rim of space.
That's
And
that is a lot.
I'm telling you, man, there's just so much, and just in the Mandalorian Wars, this era is just so there's a lot going on here. I mean, this is
Yeah.
the same era as the SWTOR series
Yeah. Yeah.
that EA has pushed out,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
and it's just there's a lot going on.
Man. So for a lot of our listeners and stuff, that's like he said, general backstory and stuff leading up to KOTOR 1, and it's crazy to think how expansive the lore in Star Wars and such is anyways, to be able to talk that extensively about the backstory of one game. And a game where when it starts out, right, because you play as Revan, you have to decide later in the game, whether you want to be evil or good, because at some point here, Revan is, if I remember right, but it's been a while since I played the games. I believe his memory is modified by the Jedi Council, or somebody on a Jedi,
Right.
to convince this warrior, who is a real good warrior and knows what he's doing.
Master strategist, a Dark Lord of the Sith at
Yeah,
this point.
he
The Dark Lord of the Sith.
yeah, they basically just, hey, you don't remember much? Oh, well, you were a really good Jedi. You were like the best Jedi Knight ever, and which is some weird shit to me because that is the most un-Jedi thing ever to do, to be like, let's just change his memory. Let's just say, hey, you were on our side, and hope that works, because this motherfucker is strong, and he will change the war for us.
Yeah, the work of Bastila Shan and her battle meditation that actually won the day, and also Malik, his own apprentice, turning on him.
Right.
Unbeknownst to the Jedi that were on his cruiser, and keep in mind this was right after they found the Starforge. The entire point of this game was to try to bring back Revan's memories of where the Starforge's location is at, and that's actually, they got it after they had accumulated a fleet. Well, I'm not going to say the largest fleet ever seen, but a pretty darn large fleet for the Sith.
Right.
Especially after suffering the loss of the first Sith War, not 50 years before this. So, to come back, and early on they found this Starforge, Revan and Malik both.
Mm-hmm.
And this thing can make anything out of nothing, just out through the Force. It is an endless supply of food, supplies, resources, credits. I mean, you see it well in Clone Wars, the type of money it takes to fund a war.
Right.
And they did it pretty seamlessly. I mean, they had enough troops to just destroy terrorists. Which was recently taken from the Jedi. I mean, it was actually pretty recently, to be honest. From when the game started, they had recently occupied Terrace. But I mean, they had stationed troops there. They had investment companies. Terrace was accepted into the Republic because investment companies started taking higher interest into Terrace itself as a planet, and the planets surrounding it. But the Sith Empire just tried to destroy Revan. Malik trying to kill his master and make sure that he is dead.
Yeah.
And to kill Bastila Shan. Because I don't know if at that point he knew his master was still alive. But to kill Bastila Shan, he was willing to just destroy the entire planet.
Yeah.
And he did. I mean, his fleet bombarded the planet until there was nothing left.
Right. It's I think a lot of fans of KOTOR 1 are, I think a lot of fans play the games and love them. I mean, everyone that I know that has played KOTOR 1 loves it. It's you know, it's BioWare, so it's Mass Effect stuff, but in Star Wars and way before Mass Effect. And
right.
You have this morality system, and you know, everyone loves the games because they're very innovative in that way, but I don't think everybody quite understands the impact that story has on the world of Star Wars at that time, which for all intents and purposes, this is skipping ahead quite a bit, but has been canonized technically at this point, which is amazing to me, because you know, when Disney acquired Star Wars, obviously they made a bunch of the books and stuff like that. What is it? Legends, Star Wars Legends stuff.
Yeah, Legends.
Yeah, and which is basically their way of saying, hey, this stuff might not be canon. It might, but it's kind of just fairy tale now. For now, at the moment.
Like putting a hold on something.
Yeah.
It's like, this could be true, but
you see, the only people that I know that like, and I like the newer Star Wars movies. Not everybody does. I like the new Star Wars movies, and it's almost single-handedly because of Knights of the Old Republic that I like the new Star Wars movies, because those movies, before we got a Knights of the Old Republic remake announced, because with the remake being announced and stuff, that canonizes the events of Knights of the Old Republic now. But
right.
Before that was happening, me and my brother sat down for probably 2 to 3 hours talking about how the last movie, the Rise of Skywalker, basically loosely, not even directly, but loosely canonized a bunch of Knights of the Old Republic and the Old Republic lore, because of the planet that that the Emperor, turned out to be on,
Yeah.
and because
Are
of
you speaking of the pillars, the statues of the old
yes,
Sith Lord? Yeah.
yes. I saw those fucking
saw it,
statues.
man.
I saw that shit in the theaters, bro, with my wife, and my wife didn't know what was going on, and I'm just sitting there like, oh my god. And I was looking around at the pillars. I was like, do you know what this means? And I was like, and look at all of the
Sion,
people.
Treya, you have Adunta Paul, Frieden Ned.
Yeah. I was like, this is because one of the only reasons I didn't like that Disney acquired. I mean, Disney-fies everything anyways, and that's always hit or miss. But one of the reasons I didn't like them acquiring Star Wars is I was like, oh man, yeah, I knew exactly what they're gonna do. They're gonna make a lot of the old stuff not canon, and they did. But somewhere up in there, up in Disney, was like, that's not a smart move. That's not a smart move. We need to take that information that we had before and build on that. And that single-handedly saved the sequel movies to me. And like, that's a huge reason why I like the sequel movies now. Because a lot of people, we
Walker saved it.
Yeah, we can.
For me.
Yeah, we can. Everybody can sit here and debate on, oh, but this happened, and oh, I don't like this, and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? They could have literally done anything in those sequels, and I'm just happy that Knights of the Old, like, that they confirmed Knights of the Old Republic stuff, basically, like, because at this point, and I think a lot of people, especially with High Republic stuff and all that stuff coming to light now and being canonized now, a lot of that is what's more interesting to a lot of Star Wars fans. And, going back to these eras and Knights of the Old Republic eras and stuff is what really made it interesting for a lot of Star Wars fans.
Right.
Go ahead. It wasn't even the continuation of what happened with Skywalker. I mean, obviously, that's super important and impactful on the universe and everything. Obviously, everything that happens through those movies. But, a lot of people are like, more like, but I want to know what happened before. Like, we could sit here and talk about Jedi and all that kind of stuff. But, which, first of all, I just want to say something about Jedi real quick.
Okay.
Is that not a little hilarious to everybody that they literally were like, Jedi, fantastic, and they just stuck with that? Somebody just said the word quicker, and it became Jedi. But anyways, but yeah, it's just, I don't know, man. But yeah, going back to it, Knights of the Old Republic, the stuff that happens in that, the reason why I brought the new movies and stuff up is Knights of the Old Republic is even affecting things into those movies. Like, there are still story points that we're seeing, and we're seeing these legendary characters as these statues and stuff. And it's just, people don't understand how much it impacts. But it impacted all the way through Skywalker saga, obviously. Not to mention that, all Sith Lords are a little bit looking up a little bit, if anything, to Revan and Malik and Nihilus and stuff like that. But yeah, back to Knights of the Old Republic though.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Go.
So after the destruction of Terrace, I mean, in the game, it takes you to the planet of Dantooine.
Yes.
And Dantooine has always been a stronghold for the Jedi. It's a calm and peaceful and simple place. It's just a simple place. Not hardly seen by war. It's peaceful.
Yeah.
So the Jedi have an enclave on Dantooine, and in KOTOR 1, this is when you start to realize that, yeah, I got brainwashed. I took some serious damage, and I was incapacitated. They brainwashed me to think that I was just a soldier in the Republic. And, Bastila Shan's mission was to, I think your original mission was to return you to Dantooine. That's
Right.
why she needed to get to Dantooine back with you to Dantooine so quickly, and that you get there via the Ebon Hawk, which ended up being Revan's starship.
Mm-hmm.
Post Mandalorian Wars and Jedi
Yeah. Yeah.
Civil War that's going on during this time. This is what's known as the Civil War for the Jedi.
Yeah.
Because they're having to fight the brethren that they've lost
Right.
because of the Mandalorian Wars and because of how evil it was at Malachor 5. That mass shadow generator didn't just destroy Mandalorian ships. And I don't think Revan ever intended it to. I think Revan intended to bring an end to the war, to
Right.
where both sides could not continue to sustain a fight.
Right.
And he did.
Yeah.
And
I think the obviously I believe if I'm not mistaken, because of KOTOR 2, the canon ending of KOTOR 1 is choosing Darkseid, correct?
yes,
Okay.
so kind of Revan is a very complex man.
Yeah, yeah,
He
that's
has been a Jedi Master, Dark Lord of the Sith, a Jedi Knight, back to the Dark Lord of the
yeah,
Sith,
yeah, yeah.
and
That's
it's back and forth with him so much. So
yeah. That's why I
at
bring
this
that
point,
up.
he was a
Is it's
Jedi once.
it's
He's been a Sith.
yeah,
Now he's back to being a Jedi. And this is when at Tatooine, that's when he realizes that look, I'm not a soldier. I'm a Jedi.
right,
I am at least that.
right,
And so he does his training and he goes to where him and Malik originally saw plans for a device made by the Rakatan people, which are the original space-bearing people. I mean, they're the first recorded space-bearing and force-sensitive people in the galaxy.
right.
The Rakatan, they stretch all the way through. I mean, they're the infinite empire.
Right.
They will always impact Star Wars.
Yeah, for sure. Literally,
So,
like most things that happen in Star Wars couldn't and wouldn't
right,
happen without.
if the Rakatan people hadn't have done what they've done and create what they created, they were the ones that created the Starforge. They were the ones that created the Dark Reaper, which was a Sith super weapon. The Starforge was a Sith manufacturing facility out of nothing.
Right.
Endless anything. Um, so whenever it comes back to it, is with the Rakatan people, if they had not built or done what they did, then the universe would have changed completely from what it is now in that
Right.
galaxy far, far away.
Right.
So at that point, that's when you begin to. Revan has finally found the first steps to finding where the Starforge is, and that was the Jedi Order's mission all along.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to brainwash Revan so that they could get a mind on the inside.
Right.
And they were hoping that they would just be able to retrieve it from his memory, but they were not. So
Right.
they had to go forward with just trying to piece everything back together for Revan without letting him find out who he
Yeah.
truly is.
Yeah, which is hard enough to do. Also, real quick, can we just acknowledge how the Revan story, if anybody for 2 seconds wouldn't have underestimated Revan and like just did him in at some point, that they would save a whole lot of heartache. I mean, they wouldn't just save heartache. They'd also hurt themselves to an extent too. The Jedi, but the Jedi, the ones that are always like, like, hey, don't underestimate the power and blah blah blah, and don't underestimate this guy and blah blah blah. 100% underestimated Revan because both sides did. Malik did too. Everybody did because everyone was like, "Oh yeah, I just want this guy to figure out where the Starforge is, and once he does, I don't care." Like it was all like both sides were playing at that
What
point.
they played him for, the Republic did. I mean, the
Yeah,
Republic hand in hand with the Jedi Order. The Jedi Order did not want to step into the Mandalorian Wars and save millions of people,
yeah.
millions of lives,
And see, this
but
is
they were willing to step in when there was a Sith weapon involved.
Yeah.
When there
Is
was
it-
word of a Sith fleet emerging out of the outer edges of space, and oh well, that Sith fleet, not long after appearing, found the Starforge.
Yeah. It's like
So where did Revan and Malik go? And that's something to date that I have never found out is where they went. In any history book and holocron that I've uncovered, it says that they went to the outer edge of space, the
right.
outer reaches.
Um
So I mean, there's just so much. It doesn't explain a lot, but what they found out there, it might have been a planet like Exegol, a
right.
Sith planet that's where the original fallen Jedi had found Korriban and found the Sith species.
Mhm.
It that's how they started to gain their power, and I think that's what happened with Revan and Malik. Now that's a theory, but it's sound. They went with a fallen Jedi. I wouldn't say an army of them, but the fallen Jedi that would not go back to the Order to be judged, and
Right.
came back with an armada
Right.
before finding the Starforge.
Yeah.
So, but
Uh
that's something that I'll have to find more holocrons and decode them and read upon their teachings, man. It's
right.
but to
Uh
to move forward though, they finally did. They leave Dantooine in Kotor's series, and it gives you the options of these different planets, and
yeah,
each of
yeah.
these planets have star maps on them.
Yeah. Let's see. Would Dantooine I think you go to don't you go to Tatooine as well?
You got a Tatooine, Korriban, Kashyyyk,
Corban.
and
Yeah, yeah,
Manan.
Kashyyyk, yep. Uh real quick, um before we continue on with that, just for some of my viewers' sake here, um I really quickly want to go back. That moment when Revan realizes what happened and you have to make that choice. You have to decide how am I going to continue on going? Um how was that for you? Like, was that like a massive holy shit moment like for you? Like, I think it is for everybody to an extent.
Yeah,
Um
the first time I ever played, and I think you have to unlock like 2 or 3 star maps, and that's when you get taken prisoner, and that's when Malik takes Bastila, and that's whenever you find out that you're not just
you,
a regular old Jedi.
yeah.
You yourself are Revan. And when I learned that information, I stopped playing the game, man, and like it took me some time.
Yeah. I
I
know,
was
bro.
so devoted into this game, and to
Right.
find out like the whole time, like, yeah, this Revan dude sounds like a fucking really bad guy. I was a kid too.
Yeah, yeah.
I was just like, this Revan dude's a really bad guy. Like he killed a lot of people, and now he's a Sith,
Yeah,
and then to
yeah.
find out that like I was Revan, and I've always played
It's
those games
insane.
morality choice. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I always go light side unless I'm just like, I'm gonna go dark side this time, and then even
Yeah,
then
just to
it's kind
see.
of a challenge.
Yeah.
Um, just to be a dick in the game. But I was going light side, and whenever I found out I was Revan, man, like all the choices after that were just dark side.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's supposed to, I think that's why that's the canon ending, is because I think it's supposed to impact people that way, where they go, oh, wait, the good guys brainwashed me.
Right,
And,
that's when you learn like you've just been a pawn.
yeah,
The Dark Lord of the Sith, who was betrayed by his own apprentice,
yeah,
is being used as a pawn for the Jedi Order.
right, right. I
The
think that's,
pacifists.
yeah, I think that's
What
that's
the?
that's a huge moment. I think it's supposed to be that way. I think that's where you're supposed to go. Holy shit! I'm not playing with the good guys. I'm like the other guys aren't good guys in this sense either, but they didn't fucking brainwash me either. Like,
Yeah, they just
I was
my
going on.
apprentice
Yeah, I was.
abided by the rule of two. Like he was
Yeah,
supposed to usurp me and ascend to beyond me, and
yeah. Everything else was going as planned, homie. But these guys fucked it up. These guys right here said, "Hold on, we don't give a shit about anything, but there's Sith involved, and we do now, and now we're gonna brainwash you. Which, admittedly, modifying someone's memory, it's just like a not Jedi thing to do, man. Like, it sounds like a dark
kick to the nuts.
Yeah, that's a Sith thing to do. Like, you told me Darth Vader, like, modified somebody's memory, I'd be like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, whatever. You tell me Obi-Wan Kenobi did it, I'd be like, hold on. Obi, whoa, what?
So. Not my boy. Not my boy Obi, like, no. But, yeah, and these guys, and keep in mind, during the Mandalorian Wars, they were just complete, like, yeah, no, we're not doing anything.
And all kinds of people die, and they're just like, nah, I don't care.
Tell me. They feel life come and go from the Force, man. Like a huge impact.
Right.
Like, take Nihilus from KOTOR 2, for example, man.
Right.
Whenever he consumed, what was Visus Mar, the people who see through the Force. When he consumed that planet's Force energy, and all of those people were just murdered, man. The Jedi felt that. He leaves a hole, like a scar, a tear in the Force, the fabric of the Force itself. Now you tell me that the Jedi did not feel all of those people dying during the Mandalorian Wars and said nothing to the Republic.
Straight up, man. Like, that's some of that shit. Like, what goes through your mind? What goes through your mind is like a Jedi master. What goes, or the Jedi Council? What goes through their minds when they all collectively just go, "Ooh, fuck, what was that?"
Like, the Cathar people were almost completely genocide, man.
Yeah,
okay,
like,
so
we just let that sacrifice go on. It's fine.
To kind of put these people into perspective, the Cathars, on Dantooine, before you leave, you go and you cleanse the grove. It's a mission you have to do pretty early on after getting your lightsaber.
Yeah.
There's a woman out there. Her name is Juhani.
Mm-hmm.
She herself is a Cathar, the cat-looking people.
Yeah.
She herself is a Cathar, one of the few surviving of her species. They massacred 90% of the Cathar species. 90.
Yeah.
In a conflict that took mere days. I mean, they were Mandalorians riding on basilisk war droids, tearing up the field, like anything that survived their initial roundup and push off of a cliff.
Yeah.
They were hunted down. And these basilisk war droids, man, have, like, their entire face is a gun, except it's like 50 fucking guns.
Yeah.
And I mean, just imagine that. Just imagine seeing Mandalorians chasing feline humanoids through fields, just completely obliterating the field, the dirt, and the Cathar, just in a quick burst.
And I think that's supposed to be I think it's supposed to be a jarring thing to think about, because, like, I can almost guarantee you they made them cat-like in appearance 100% after the fact that they decided that, because, it metaphorically and stuff, and when you think about it, it's like, oh, picture just straight cats, like, being, committed genocide, like, there's a genocide of cats or something, it's just, it's a horrible thing to think about, like, yeah, and so, like, these feline species, feline
human beings,
just getting massacred,
right? It's
all right,
but yeah, I mean, they definitely bitched him out. They definitely bitched out, and that in itself was a low move for the Jedi Order, man. Because, like I said, they did nothing during the Mandalorian Wars. The only ones that did anything were considered Dark Jedi or Fallen Jedi.
Yeah.
After they are protectors and keepers of the peace.
Yeah. Never mind the fact that
about war.
Yeah.
But they were afraid.
Exactly. Yeah.
And as Kreia from the second game put it, the Mandalorian Wars were of a war of conversion. Which make me believe that the Sith have just had their hands in this the entire time. Like, that's what they were wanting. There's a darker Sith Empire out there ruling at this time that even Malik and Revan feared.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not stated in the game, but like that's lore. It's fact. It's,
Yeah.
even Revan and Malik in their superior fleet, even they feared them,
Right.
looming in the outer reaches of space. So that just goes to kind of tell you that maybe that is where Revan and Malik went. Maybe
Maybe
they were called to the dark side.
I could see that. That's
I mean,
actually yeah. Um, let's fast forward here a little bit.
okay,
Um, to Kotor 2.
okay.
Um, first
Just
of
a
all,
quick in cap on Kotor 1.
yeah.
Yes, at the end, the Star Forge does get destroyed. You find all the star maps between all the different planets, and you are pretty much a Republic hero at that point before Revan leaves.
Right.
And in his absence is where KOTOR 2 begins.
Yeah. Um, for right off the bat, I want to acknowledge something here. There are a lot of people that don't like KOTOR 2. I don't know why, because I love KOTOR 2. Maybe story-wise, maybe more than KOTOR 1. I like Revan, don't get me wrong. But what do you think about Nihilus?
Nihilus is. Nihilus. Okay. This dude consumes the Force. He
Right.
he is the scar of the Force. This dude is a badass, man.
Right,
Like
right.
he like take Vice Smart. You get her as a follower in the second game after the fact of everything, and I think it's you have to you might leave Terrace or yeah, it's after you leave Terrace, after you get back in your Ebon Hawk the second time after
Mm-hmm.
leaving or something to unlock her quick.
Yeah.
Um, but like her people, she's the only surviving member of her entire culture, her entire planet. Because Nihilus just got hungry
Right.
and consumed the
Yep.
entire planet's life force.
Uh,
This dude is crazy ridiculous.
Nihilus, Revan and Nihilus, like, I don't know, like, Nihilus might be one of my favorite, or he might be my favorite, Sith. Uh, Revan, Revan's up there for sure, and Revan's complicated history and stuff really makes me want to like him more. But dude, Nihilus is just power. He is
It's
just power.
incarnate, dude.
Yes,
It's
literally, like to an extent, literally, he's fucking just power. Like, um, causing issues that last. I don't. You're the lore guy. A long time. It
right.
causes detrimental issues. Um,
He, as far as the warlords, what fell in Revan's place were a band of pretty much Sith lords who were trying to take the spot of Dark Lord of the Sith,
right.
and there was what came to the downfall of the great, if you could call it that, even after all the wars that it sustained, the Great Sith Empire, was after Malik left, or not Malik, Revan left. They all tried to fill that void of power that he left behind.
Yeah.
And in doing so, the fallen Jedi, and at this point now even Sith is what they're called, they are trying to band together to take any power that is left.
Yeah.
Because at this time you have other wars that are going on between gangs. I mean, but gangs that spread across galaxies, the entire galaxy, like the
Mm-hmm.
Vex. And there are other gang wars going on. There's you have the Dark Wars, the first Jedi Purge, where I mean, there's like bounties put on Jedi's head after what Revan and Malik did, and you see that through the exchange and everything, and Goto hunting you down, and just the Hutts have prices on any Jedi's head
Right.
because of the war that they've brought within the last. At this point, it's probably the last 70 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, all they're doing is Darth Treya, or in the game you know her as Kreia. Darth Sion, Darth Nihilus, they are all just trying to fill a void of power,
Right.
killing each other in the making.
Right.
And so they're trying to work. Some of them try to work together. Some of them fight. Sion used to be Krea's apprentice, but did you also know that Kreia herself was Revan's apprentice before he fell?
I actually I found that out the other day. Like I didn't know it, and I was watching. Obviously, I did some studying and stuff for this and everything, and I actually found that out the other day. Yeah. I was. I some information brought me to Krea's wiki page. And
Yeah,
on there, it has under their names and stuff. It says just like different things, like their description and stuff. But then it says apprentices.
so you had apprentices,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
yeah, Darth Revan and Mitra Surik,
yeah. And
which
then
is
I was
the
like, huh,
exile you play as in the game. So
huh,
yeah, so Kreia has been in the fold of all this for so long, and even poisoning Revan's mind to a point of starting a war
yeah,
to, well, not even really starting the war, entering the war
yeah,
to bring the Mandalorians down. And
right,
then afterwards, not even been able to return to his own master or just the Order. The only one who did was Mitra Surik,
right.
and they exiled her. And in more Kanan, and it's a female.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, I guess I don't know if all this is Kanan or Legends. It's sometimes,
I
like you said earlier, it's kind of hard to differentiate
yeah,
between what's still
I
Kanan and what's
it's
still
it's
Legend.
it's safe to say that the Old Republic, the MMO, is canon because they're still updating it and doing stuff to it to this day, and it's under EA and stuff still. So it's safe to say that's canon, and that does refer to Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2 in different ways and stuff. They reference events and stuff, um, or those references for stuff to come and stuff as well. So I would assume everything in that game and everything it references. And since KOTOR 1 is getting a remake, as far as we know and are concerned, it is a remake, like straight up just a remake coming out. It's probably safe to say the events of KOTOR 2 are probably canon. But I we'll see, because they might remake KOTOR 1, and when they remake it, they might retcon some of the story. I hope they don't. But I mean, I guess there's loose, like, little things that they could tie up, or this or that they don't have, that aren't super big, but generally, I would say it's safe to say they're probably canon, the events of KOTOR 2 and everyone around that.
Well, KOTOR 1 and KOTOR 2 are only separated by 5 years.
Yeah, yeah.
So I would say it would be safe to say that most of what happens during the KOTOR 2 game is probably Kanan.
Right.
Um, as far as the fall of the remaining Sith Lords at the hand of Mitra Surik, um, bringing down Kreia and finally stopping her plan to literally destroy the Force itself.
Yeah.
That's just,
Is that not a counterintuitive plan though?
well,
uh,
she had seen the destruction and the power and the greed that it had brought about to people, and the
yeah.
separation
I mean, yeah.
and the wars that have started and ended over it.
I guess it's for the better. I assume, but at the same time though, it's like, the lives that it cost, uh, in a way, I feel like are almost repaid in the lives that they've also saved. Because I mean, let's be real. If there was no force, or force to be wielded, let's say it like that, then I still feel like generally a lot of like other wars, like the gang wars and stuff going on, are still probably gonna happen. And I would still say there's probably still gonna be political, um, whatever the word is, you know what I mean? Political, like, there's gonna be
Right. There would just be
infighting
no
but yeah, you're all, at that point you're
light
just
side, dark
yeah,
side
you're just
battling.
exactly, you're just getting rid of the you're making it all gray, you know, like instead of black and white and then the gray in the middle, because you know obviously dark and light that's kind of supposed to be a metaphor for it anyways. Um, Besides the dark and light, you know, you're just getting rid of the dark and light. Now it's all gray. um, to an
Right.
extent.
Making everybody pretty much equal.
Yeah, to an extent. And but with that comes people being like, "Oh, why are you in charge?" You know, and so now there's political infighting and everything, and there's still gonna, I don't know, it was a noble thought. Like it's definitely one of those gifts that I think the thought is what counted with that gift, with the intention of that gift, but I don't think it would have solved anything. It for sure would have saved lives here and there, but it probably would have cost lives here and there too. Um,
If you look back on it, it's like it wouldn't have stopped even if Kreia had acted on her plan before the Mandalorian Wars. That was straight blaster slash ballistic warfare.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, that
exactly.
was just bloodthirsty warfare, and it wouldn't have stopped. The only thing that stopped the Mandalorian Wars were the Jedi.
Right.
Well, in this case, the fallen Jedi.
Yeah, the
But
fallen Jedi.
at the same point,
To
it
be,
would have worked well in the fate of those who were strong enough to conquer.
yeah.
Because the
Uh,
only thing that was able to step in multiple occasions, not just in the Mandalorian Wars, but in multiple occasions, were the Jedi.
yeah. Um, oh yeah, I was gonna say earlier we were talking about Nihilus for a second. Another reason that, and this is probably like this is the one thing that I knew for sure about Nihilus before any studying recently or anything. Um, that motherfucker lived through his armor,
Oh yeah,
like
his life
almost
force was tied to his
almost pure,
math.
yeah, almost pure willpower was just like so fucking powerful that he was like, nah.
There's no physical entity at all behind Nihilus. He was known as the Scar and the Force. He was dark side energy, practically the dark side incarnate.
Yeah,
And he just fed his power through the death of other people.
right.
So his power would have continued non-stop. It would be endless
Hmm.
if it weren't for the fact of Mitra Surik at this point. But to fight your, it's not really to fight it, to be on the point of to destroy the light and the dark, to destroy the force in itself.
Hmm.
Nihilus would have done nothing. Nihilus would have gone down in no history book. Same with Scion, Revan, Ulik, Keldroma, Exar Kun. It's those those names would have never popped up. The wars that they started and stopped would have never happened.
Right.
And I think Kreia was looking into the future and seeing the wars that has been caused because of the separation of the light and the dark.
Oh yeah.
In a way, you can look at her as possibly gray, but in the end, I feel like, well, in the game, it says that when Mitra Surik's force was taken from her, the pain was excruciating. It
Right.
felt like her heart was being ripped out, like the thing that gave her life itself was gone, and there was practically, it felt like dying.
Yeah.
That to go around and at this time, the holocrons, documenting all these force sensitive people.
Right.
The Jedi didn't know all of them. They would know them through legend of this kid here, or that kid there, or this person here, and taking them in for training at this point would
Yeah.
be a maybe. If some would be found through meditation, but some people, man, it probably would have ended up killing. Just
Yeah.
the pain in itself. Mitra Surik was a general under Revan, his top general, the one who told Bayadur, which you run into in this game,
Hmm.
um, to activate the mass shadow generator after Revan's ship had finally joined the battle. And at that Battle of Malachor 5, man, let's just say that the Republic fleet was held together by duct tape and good wishes.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Right.
Republic had been taking a beating for years between ah, just so many different battles, man,
Yeah.
that just kind of stand out to me. And, you know, the Mandalorians, after taking a planet from the Republic for the years that they would planet jump and Neo Crusade,
Yeah.
they would industrialize them for their needs,
Mhm.
not for the needs of a Republic or democracy style way of running things. Like, they were fueled for war machines.
Right.
So even after the Mandalorian Wars, the Republic itself was just kind of shattered. And the mass shadow generator destroyed most of the Republic fleet.
Yeah. Um so to to hit some more gaming content here. Um I just really quickly want to ask, first of all, of you, and just to give people a little bit more background on you, real quick here, just kind of in the middle, give people a moment to suck in all this the lore and stuff. Um,
Right.
it's not complaining. It's you know way more than me about all this shit. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I have been forever, but um for sure there's a lot of information thrown at people just now. So here, you, the Holocron librarian, what is your favorite? What would you say is your favorite moment from the Knights of the Old Republic games? And that could be, I mean, it could be anything from what we already talked about with, you know, the decision that Revan faces once you figure out what goes on and that realization of what happened to you as Revan, or that could be just, you know, it could be anything from those games. Do you
Yeah.
do you
So
have a
I would.
like a big heavy hitting moment from when you were a kid or whatever when you played these games?
So I actually played the second game before I even touched KOTOR 1.
Heretic.
Um, I know but it didn't. That's the thing was like I was so young, it didn't affect my playthrough of KOTOR 1. And
Yeah,
there's really, unless you play through it a certain way, you might not even run into the same. I mean, you run into the old Jedi Masters,
yeah.
but you don't even really run into the same
Yeah,
story
there's a lot of
complications.
references and stuff you could certainly miss.
Right.
Um,
And but so my favorite part was probably it was years after I had played the games. Well,
right.
no, let's go with the first one. Let's first time playing through the games. Um, Probably the oh shit shocker moment was the fact that Kreia she she oh what's the word I'm looking for? It won't come to my head. She betrays you, man. Like
Yeah.
the whole game, like as a kid, I was just like, teach me how to be a Jedi Master or this or that, and like, and then at the end, she's zip zap clappity clap. Like if you don't kill all the Jedi Masters, she just kills them anyways,
Yeah.
and then she steals your fucking ship
Mhm.
and she leaves you.
Yeah.
Uh,
Just abandons your ass, bro, like a
just
lost
that,
puppy.
she goes back to your ship, tells everybody that you're dead,
Ah, he's not here anymore.
and
Don't
then
worry about him. Let's go.
she ditches you. I can't remember how you end up getting your ship back.
Yeah.
But then you chase her ass to Malachor 5, and that whole planet used to scare the living shit out of me. Those
Yeah.
lizard monsters, I can't remember their names, but
Yeah,
the
I don't
things you
know.
used to face, man, trying to like fly around in the orb.
Right.
Because my first playthrough, my dude just ran through. Like, I didn't kill any of the lizards, and then I had to come back with Beodur's floating orb and try to kill those lizards with a fucking little blaster pistol.
Right.
Uh, that was the most challenging point of the games. I will
Right.
touch on that. That was the most challenging point for my playthrough
Okay.
was not killing the fucking thunder lizards with a lightsaber,
Yeah.
trying to go back around and kill them with a little floating orbs pistol. And let me tell you, anybody who's ever completed the stun baton run through for KOTOR 1, that's what I experienced. I mean, I know it's like you all for the whole game, but like that point was probably the closest to a stun baton run through.
Yeah,
These are in-game in-game mobs.
yeah.
Definitely not fun.
um, okay, just to step away from Knights of the Old Republic for a minute. What's your favorite Star Wars game? Just out there in general, whether it's one of those. I mean, I don't care if it's the pod racing games from back in the day, or the Lego games. A lot of people are huge fans of the Lego games. Um, what is your hands down favorite Star Wars game of all time? It could be the MMO or whatever.
So my hands down favorite Star Wars game of all time is actually Star Wars Empires at War. It's an
Empires at
old
War.
school turn-based real-time strategy
Oh,
game.
it's the RTS.
It's the RTS, man, that I didn't actually know existed
I
for
I
the
recently
first
watched a
20
dude
years
play
of my
those
life.
games.
It's so beautiful. And
Yes.
it's so old, but like you get to play. I mean, that entire area you're playing through is you get to dabble in the rebels fight against the Empire, and
Yeah.
then you can jump over and like you're assisting them. And like you run into Boba Fett chasing down Han Solo, and like this is playing through the campaign, of course.
Right.
Like you run into a mission where Boba Fett's chasing Han Solo, and you gotta maneuver through a asteroid field with Imperial Star Destroyers everywhere, and
Right.
it's so much fun. There's
Dude,
different campaigns you can play,
right.
and
Yeah,
it
yeah,
just
yeah.
tells a different story as you're controlling your forces. And
I
I mean,
can't.
you know me, those are my games,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, you love RTSs. I can't believe you said that game. I literally the only because you said it and I was like, wait a second, I've heard of that recently. I watched for those of you that are Funhouse fans out there, obviously Bruce Green and Lawrence Sontag aren't part of Funhouse anymore, but they stream on their own. Lawrence on his stream was recently playing Empires at War. Also, just for those interested, this is not sponsored or anything, but we are talking about Star Wars stuff. There's a bunch of Star Wars sales going on right now. You can get the complete Star Wars collection of video games for $76 on Steam right now. And let me just hit some of these big ones real quick here. You hit the original Battlefront games in here. You hit the Clone Wars, some of the Clone Wars games, Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy here.
Oh,
You hit Kotor 1 and 2 on
hands
here.
down. You
And
gotta have those.
and Empire at War Gold Pack is in there and involved as well. It's literally a I think $292 thing normally. You're 74% off.
Nice.
To
I think I own
$76.
about all but two or three of the games you just mentioned. And trust me,
If you own those on
they are
Steam,
worth playing them.
oh yeah, I love a lot of them. If you own those on Steam, or if you own a lot of those on Steam already, you actually get even less off. So actually, I own quite a few of those on here, so it might be a little less off than like 74%. Because I have the Battlefront games on Steam, the old Battlefront games on Steam, and I think Knights of the Old Republic 1. So I'm saving a little bit more there because it cuts it out on Steam automatically. But if you wanted to buy Empire at War Gold Pack right now, it's $7 until January 5th, and this episode will come out way before that. So you guys still have time to, if you're hearing that, January 5th, 2022, in case you are listening just way in the future or something. Hi from the past. But yeah, that's
And
crazy that you brought that up.
it's man, it's just a fun game, man. Like you
Right.
get to play, you just get to learn so much more. And I'm all about. I'm just a simple man trying to make my way through the galaxy, collecting as much knowledge that I can. You know, like I'm the Holocron librarian, and that game just opens up so much story, so much
So much
lore
lore, yeah.
between the Revenge of the Sith and I think episode four, the end there, like you get to help Luke Skywalker assault the Death Star.
Yeah. The gold pack
Like
comes
you're
with some expansion too, so I don't know how
yes.
far that goes into it.
It's like a gang war. I think I've played it. I've played through all
Yeah.
of it. I just can't remember off the top of my head.
Right.
But that is also a very fun story. You're pretty much building a criminal empire,
Right.
and I mean it goes off. You have to just kind of dipping into that game just for a second.
Yeah. Yeah.
You build your economy, you build your space stations, you add your attachments to space stations. So if the system gets invaded, you're fending them off with, depending on Republic or Empire, or Rebels or Empire, you're fending them off with
Right.
uh, Imperial Star Destroyers and frigates and everything, support ships,
Yeah.
squadrons of TIE fighters or X-Wings,
Hell yeah.
um, calamari frigates, like the big,
Yeah.
huge
Yeah.
frigates that the rebels were using.
Yes, sir.
And it's just it's badass. I
Hell yeah.
love the game.
Hell yeah. There
And
you go.
anybody that buys that pack and gets Star Wars Knights of the Republic 2, the Sith Lords, look up TSL CRM. It's a content restoration mod. Some things that the developers wanted to put into the game
But didn't
originally,
get to.
but had to cut because
Yeah.
back in the day with the limited disc size using CD, DVD style discs to throw
Yeah. Yeah.
games
Yeah.
on back in 2005, they couldn't put all this in. But now we have beautiful modding communities and developers. Shout out to all you guys. Um, just doing great work to bring these old games back to life.
Right.
It,
Um.
it,
I was actually gonna ask you if you knew about all the stuff that they had to cut for that game and everything. Real quick here, I want to hit on a rumor or two about some stuff, and then after that, we're going to flash forward here a little bit and theorize on a particular game, but some future Star Wars games as well. But real quickly, do you want to end? The spoiler alert for anybody that hasn't played KOTOR 1 or 2. Do you want to end KOTOR 2 here? Like, tell us kind of, lead us through some of the major plot points of KOTOR 2. For those that haven't played it, and round that out before we continue on.
yeah, so KOTOR 2, you're playing through the game. I'll try to do a quick speed up wrap up of it all.
Okay.
You're playing through the game. You end up blowing up Paragus, this entire mining facility. Now the planet Terrace is the one you escape to from there, and they rely on the fuel from Paragus. Terrace from the first game, the planet that was destroyed. Well, they're
Yeah.
trying to bring it back to life. So you're trying to go around, and one of those little side missions is trying to get fuel shipped back to Terrace. Your main point of the game, in reality, is you're hunting down the old Jedi Masters that were part of the Council that exiled you. You find one on Terrace, Darth. Well, my bad, not. She's Darth Atreya. I think is what her name is. It's like Darth Atreya. It's your old master Atris, I guess is what I'll just call it, Atris. You find one, you can't kill her. The other three Jedi Masters that you find though on Nar Shaddaa, Onderon, and Dantooine, you have the option of killing. Light
Right.
side, dark side. Mitra Surik is actually in Kanan a Jedi. Reclaims her title as Jedi, and then goes on to claim Jedi Master. So in Kanan lore, you don't, but you have the option to, and it's fun. If you've never killed them, definitely kill them. They put up a fight. It's fun to watch them die.
If you haven't killed him, go ahead and
Fuck
kill
those
him.
guys. They kicked you out of the order.
Yeah.
So you're continuing on, and as you're going on, and during this time is the Sith Civil War. So the Sith are fighting themselves, like I mentioned earlier. It's the clans behind Darth Sion, Darth Nihilus, and even at this point, Darth Treya, who works from the shadows, aboard the Ebon Hawk, tracking your movements, making sure that the other Sith stay a step ahead of you, because she's trying to get all the last Jedi Masters who could fight her or oppose her to die. That's why after you find all three of them, you return to Dantooine. They try to reassert your exilement, and she actually comes in and saves you.
Right.
I think she knows you're alive, but I don't think she gives a shit because then she just skips off to Malachor 5 and is like, "Come
Forget
get
it.
me." By the way, Nihilus, go fuck up Terrace again. So he's doing that. You've come along to find Mandalore. I can't remember what his title is. Mandalore the something. Turns out it's Canderous Ordo from the first game. Anybody who didn't know, if you did, props to you. I learned that at the age of like 22 after played the game and for like 10, 15 years. But um, so at that point, you track her down. You get to Malachor 5 after defeating Darth Nihilus, stomping his ass. You get to Malachor 5, and you get to see the real just destruction that Revan had brought upon with that mass shadow generator,
Right.
and feel the dark side. And this is where they've made their home. The Sith have made their home in the remnants of so much destruction and death that the dark side just pours. And I mean, it poured before the death and destruction anyway, but now it just the
Mhm.
hatred, the lives lost. So sorry, you traverse through Malachor 5, you get to the Sith Academy that's there, and you finally fight Sion, Darth Sion. He's a mean motherfucker. Literally keeps himself alive just because he's too fucking angry to die.
Yes. I'm glad
Just
you said
because
that.
he's too angry to die. You finally get him beat down enough, and second guess his choice, and finally he's weakened for the point of death, and you
Right.
strike his ass down.
Mhm.
Through the next corridor you enter, welcome to the final chamber of the game. This is the end boss. Do not skip the cut scenes at the end or the credits. You will hate yourself. You fight Kreia, or at this point, Darth Treya.
Right.
And watch out for those lightsabers, boys. That's all I gotta say.
That's all I gotta say.
Uh, Fuck her up, you kill her, and at that point, actually, it shows Mitra Surik aboard the Ebon Hawk there at the end of the game, taking off.
Right.
That's KOTOR 2 wrapped up.
All right. Here a couple years ago, I don't know if you knew about this. Here a couple years ago, one of the let's see, one of the lead writer, or no, one of the lead writers from Knights of the Old Republic 2, um, actually gave us a little bit of info on what was going to happen in Old Republic 3. Have you read any of that? Do you know any of that?
I know, I know that it's been pushed for the point. Old Republic 3, Knights of the Old Republic 3. It's what people wanted, but the game that they ended up giving us in place of that, I feel, and why it probably slid back under the table as a game unneeded, is what SWTOR covers. SWTOR
Right.
pretty much covers the next, I think it's worth 1,000 years
Yeah.
of shit at this point. Like it's
Yeah, it does cover
the
a lot.
golden. Ah, at this point, at the end of KOTOR 2 is when the Jedi start recovering some of the lost planets from the original Sith War with Exar Kun, Frieden Nad, Ulic Qel-Droma, and yeah, they suffer for about 1,000 years, even through the Republic, just after all the stuff that's happened. And what was Bane? Bane was before Revan. Now I'm second my guessing myself. That's some knowledge I haven't dipped into completely,
Right.
so it's a little hit and miss.
Okay.
But as far
Um,
as reading about them pushing for a KOTOR 3, I've always heard it. I haven't read the article you're talking about.
yeah.
I'll have to get that from you and kind of dip into that and see.
It
Because I've always
is.
wanted KOTOR 3 for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
KOTOR 1 and 2 were just immaculate. They were beautiful masterpieces of games
Right.
who were receiving gaming awards, long after they had been even released. I mean, I think
Right.
KOTOR
Yeah.
1 was taking awards for like 2 or 3 years after.
Mm-hmm.
Just for the beautiful story, the gameplay, the elegant design. It's
Yeah, it was innovative.
right. And it's
Like I was saying earlier, I mentioned Mass Effect earlier. We wouldn't have Mass Effect without
right
KOTOR.
without the stepping stones of KOTOR
Yeah.
for BioWare to really just like crack down. And when they got that second game for Star Wars, I mean, who knows if they were even expecting it?
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, some gaming companies are just like, well, you did good this time, but you're still new.
Right.
So I can't remember how long BioWare had been around before that point,
Well,
but
um, I don't. I want to say. I want to say. BioWare was a pretty young company.
they were about
Obsidian,
8 years old.
yeah, Obsidian helped work on or did work, I think, on completely. I think, yeah, Obsidian helped work on Knights of the Old Republic 1, and then 2 came around, and I think Obsidian were the ones that took the lead on that. Obsidian, for those that don't know, they do Fallout, New Vegas,
They
they
did Outer Worlds, which they
did
just
Outer
put
Worlds, which
out
is great.
that they're doing a second Outer Worlds for those
Yes.
interested. I know
Yeah.
I loved that game.
It is a good game. It's a very
Um,
good game. It made me
I
reminisce
hear
so much on Fallout New Vegas.
Aspire is actually taking some of the reins over as far as the new Kotor remake goes.
Yes, yes.
Um, I enjoyed their port to Android. I mean, I literally own these games on in every way possible.
Yeah, yeah. Aspire. That's like what they're big for doing is porting the games over to stuff. That's why a lot of people are kind of okay with them taking the reins on the KOTOR remake. And then some people are like, well, but they ported it to like mobile and this and that and stuff, and you know, some of the ports might have problems here and there. I don't know.
Still, the fact that they've ported.
Yeah,
I mean,
they've worked with the technology. They know what they're dealing with. They know the stories they're dealing with. They're passionate about these games. So obviously, I'm fine with it. I'm 100% okay with leaving it in their hands. But I want to give you a little bit of insight here. To what. I'm trying to find this. Okay. I want to give you a little bit of insight here to kind of what Obsidian's plan for KOTOR 3 was going to be.
okay.
I'll send you the link to the article, the main article. This is just kind of a summary by IGN of what they were, you know, they talked to VG 247, which is a website first, but IGN kind of summarized a lot of it. And they basically said they always envisioned the KOTOR story to be a trilogy. When we finished the second one, we were all trying to restore our lives back to sanity. We did start working on the third game pitch because we always imagined the trilogy. Even when working the second game, we tried to foreshadow what Darth Revan was doing in the second game. And he wasn't always just ruthlessly and mindlessly blowing everything up. He actually had a larger plan because there was some greater manipulation and threat going on. The third game involved you as a player character following where Revan went and then taking the battle to the really ancient Sith Lords who are far more terrifying than the Darths that show up. These guys would...
Go. See, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Was the ancient lords
Right.
ruling in the outer edge of space?
Yeah. These guys would just be monsters, he said. These would have had a level of power that was considerable, but at the same time, you'd be able to dig more into their psychologies and their personalities, their history, and even how they dealt with the player, how they talk with the player, the different powers they cultivated and developed. And for some of them, like they're the ancients, so they're not just ruling a solar system, but swaths of the galaxy. He continued to explain how all these places the player would travel would show how these ancient Sith Lords left their stamp on that world or that solar system or whatever collection of moons. Environmental storytelling would have been a huge part of KOTOR 3 and would have helped convey the pure evil these Sith Lords have wrought. He also brought up how these Sith Lords would be initially mysterious, but they wouldn't be unknowable like Snoke in the newer films. And this was obviously, you know, an older thing. Huge part of KOTOR 3 would be uncovering their origin stories and learning about what brought them to their height of power and, well, evilness. But the game, he thinks, this guy that was talking, the lead writer, thinks the game was canceled due to internal politics. So obviously corporate and stuff being like, yo, KOTOR 2 didn't critically do as good, probably. It did fine, but I know I referenced it earlier. Some people weren't huge fans of it. Sticking with the KOTOR theme real quick, I also want to get your thoughts on we're obviously getting the KOTOR remake. Did you know there are rumors comes from BuzzFeed News, IGN, and stuff. And this was a couple years ago as well. There was some rumors and stuff, and this is to be taken with a grain of salt, that three sources claimed that there was a Knights of the Old Republic movie being made.
There is.
Yeah,
Oh man, I've been following that so intensely.
written
They
by one of the co-screenwriters of Alita: Battle Angel, which I think is a great movie. That's a little divisive. Um,
um but I've been keeping up with it. It's in the Unreal Engine. I mean, they have casted the voices. They are doing the animation, and it's from what they've pushed out so far. It's beautiful. They just pushed out the an acolyte little short film. I don't remember it being voiced, but so everybody remembers and loves our God and Savior Trask Olgor.
right.
Um, and we were expecting to run through the whole game with him, from KOTOR 1. First dude you meet runs into your room in the Indoor Spire. Um, the fight that happens between them, I guess, is going to be animated. They're finally gonna show what happens to Trask.
Hell yeah.
So I mean, I've been keeping up with them. Very excited to see they're pushing out a Malik. I think it's a short series
Right.
while we're waiting for their KOTOR movie to air,
Hell yeah.
and it's going to follow straight Kanan. So you're going to watch. I hope they go a little farther out. Still in the KOTOR series. I'm trying to backtrack, but
Yeah, yeah,
Bastila
you're good.
Shan and Revan. Bastila Shan herself became the wife of Revan.
Mm-hmm.
And if you play the second game in a certain way, I couldn't pinpoint it for y'all. The first time I found it, I thought it was just a huge Easter egg. After the battle on Terrace with Darth Nihilus, you're actually approached by Carthonasi. Oh, nasty. Nasty boy. You're approached by Carthonasi and Bastila Shan
Right.
looking for Revan.
Right.
Um, so yeah, that movie I have very high hopes for it. I love the KOTOR series,
Mm-hmm.
adore it. Um, and to see it put into a movie, like this is where I was hoping that they would take the High Republic, those who took over the trilogy and were allowed to go whichever direction they wished. I was hoping that they would go back to the Old Republic.
Yeah. See
There's just so much.
the next Star Wars movies, I believe, are still supposed to be um created by David Benoit and DB Weiss, um, who are the Game of Thrones creators. Or not creators, like the show creators, the writers.
That's
Um,
why I had high hopes for going back because they have great medieval battle scenes and shows. I was hoping that they would go back.
yeah, I think the hope there is because obviously KOTOR does take a little bit of what would you say inspiration from medieval type stuff. It's older. It's supposed to be medieval in the way that sci-fi could be medieval, I guess. So
Originally, when Star Wars first came around, I mean, the Star Wars, I say that, but the Rakatan Empire,
yeah,
um, you know, this was Star Wars pre-lightsaber.
yeah,
There was no such thing as a lightsaber. And the first lightsabers were actually powered by huge
yeah,
generators.
yeah. Huge
They were
battery things you carried
solely,
around.
yeah, solely ceremonial. And then they found a way to put the battery packs onto belts.
Or yeah,
And that's
yeah,
whenever Jedi would carry their lightsaber blades into battle. And through time, they finally made it to where the lightsaber had its own energy source and found a way to harmonize the blade itself and all of its pieces with the kyber crystal for
yeah.
both the force and the kyber crystal to power the saber. And that's
Right.
where modern day sabers come from. So like
Yeah.
in the newest movie, the Rise of Skywalker, it shows an ancient Sith blade, and there's a lot of controversy because you don't see the blades and the stun batons like you get to see on KOTOR in normal Star Wars. You're seeing blaster rifles, blaster
Yes.
pistols, force powers, or lightsabers. So a lot of people just you got to remember like there was Star Wars before a laser sword.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if people really understand that to an extent. You know, a lot of people just want pretty lasers and swords, laser swords. But yeah, we're still not clear whether we're getting the DB the D&D. We're not sure if we're getting the David and DB movies first, or if we're getting the Rian Johnson movies, because his trilogy that's supposed to happen is always off or on. Like, sometimes they say, oh, those movies are canceled. Sometimes they some, after The Last Jedi came out, they were like, oh yeah, he's not getting his own movies. People didn't like Last Jedi apparently, and so he's not getting his own. But then
Right.
Rise of Skywalker, yeah,
and stuff and backlash and
yeah, Rise of Skywalker came out, and then people were like, oh, he still might. And even though it was they went back to J.J. Abrams, I think, for the most part for Rise of Skywalker,
right.
which I still am curious. Ryan, I heard that J.J. Abrams and a few other people really retconned and were trying to cover the tracks of what Rian Johnson was doing. I'm real curious if they would have just let him have Rise of Skywalker and do what he was going to do there, which a lot of the plot points are still there from his movie, but from what he was going to do. But I'm curious as to what he was going to do with it, because obviously the way he was taking it was very divisive. People didn't like it and stuff. But I always kind of fought for him, because I was like, well, it's not our story to tell. Let's see what he does. Let's see what happens.
George Lucas kept everything so hush hush about Star Wars. Like, he decided what was in and out. Like,
yeah,
I feel where you're coming from. Is like you said, it's not our story to tell.
yeah, that's
Like,
a big
you
thing
can
for
like or
me.
dislike what happens, but your
Yes,
love of Star Wars should be your love of Star Wars.
dude, that
Like,
is. Oh my god, I'm glad you said.
I don't agree with, you know,
That's
yeah,
it.
it's
That's it.
badass, but I
Yeah.
don't agree with what the Mandalorians did, but at the same time, it's like, I was not George fucking Lucas. I
Yeah.
wasn't the one that said, "No, that's not what they did." No, it's
I've
like,
I've talked about it
that's what
on.
they canonized with the Mandalorian Wars, and
Yeah.
I just have no control over it.
Yeah.
It's your decision
I've talked
personally.
about that specifically so many times on my stream and on podcast and everything. Um, I I'm hardcore critical of critics. Because critics will tear something apart and say, "Oh, this is the worst thing ever," and blah blah blah, or they didn't. The story was bad. They didn't do this or that. And I'm sitting here like, at the end of the day, I mean, we don't have, we're not getting to any debates here about prequels and sequels and who likes what and stuff. I love all Star Wars, because at the end of the
Star
day,
Wars
it's
is
not.
Star Wars,
Yeah,
man.
it's not my story to tell. I'm here
And
to, and maybe one day, if I ever got famous or something for something, maybe I could have a little input into something, and that'd be great to leave a mark on it. I would love to leave a mark on it. But at the end of the day, it's not my story. I'm
right,
here for the ride. I'm here for the ride,
and
whether
I'm
it goes
here
somewhere
for
I
the
don't
ride,
like.
100%.
I love that you said that, because that's like a big thing that I hit on all the time, where I'm like, don't, if someone says this game is bad, just play the game. It could be bad, it might not. You might have a great time with it. If
It's
someone
for them.
Yeah, if this movie, if you don't like that movie, not your movie. It wasn't meant for you. Wasn't your story. Like,
But don't let another person tell you what you should like and dislike.
yeah, exactly. I hate that. And especially with in movies and video games nowadays, because people will be like, people live and die by like what critics say, and will die on hills and stuff like that for these
Then
guys.
they'll read a review that says it's crap, like from a dude who plays Call of Duty, rating, let's say StarCraft.
Yeah,
Like, a dude that plays Call of Duty is gonna hate StarCraft.
right.
It's not their kind of game.
Yeah, it's not
But
for
for a
them.
kinda guy who likes StarCraft,
Maybe it's
he
great.
might say the same damn thing about Call of Duty. It's like,
Yeah,
that Call of Duty's crap, and no, it's not, and you can get in an argument until your faces are blue, man.
yeah,
But at the end of the day, I like what I like. I'm super passionate about what I'm super passionate about.
yeah.
And I can't tell you what to be passionate about. Just
It's
like you
I've
could tell me like, "Ah, Star Wars sucks." I'm gonna be like, "Oh, well, that sucks for you because it's actually a great fucking experience
yeah.
for me.
Yeah,
Like, I love
exactly.
it."
And it's at the end of the day, it's escapism. I treat Star Wars, I mean, every form of entertainment is escapism. It's a way to escape modern day life and the problems that come with it and everything. But a lot of people, like, tend to. I think a lot of what it is and what it boils down to is people get so in their feelings about, oh, I wanted the story to end this way, or I wanted them to do this, and that's great, but don't get hurt feelings when they inevitably don't do what you want, because you're not in that writer room. You're not writing for them. You don't get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to write that script or that book or that video game. It's
Right.
it's silly.
And it kills me that people will just take the word of others so easily.
Yeah,
And like that's what causes great games to die.
yeah,
Something that
100%.
could have been just a roaring fire to just smother out, man. And
Yeah.
it
There's a game called Days Gone, and I think that's something similar that's happening with that game. Is it didn't sell well and everything at first, because a lot of people right when it first came out were like, it's a good zombie game, it's fun, but it's a zombie game, and people kind of shit on it and stuff. But then you get into it, and the story is super deep and super beautiful, and it takes you on this roller coaster ride, and
for some of these reviews that pop out, like, have you finished the game? Have you finished the movie? Have you finished the series? Or are you just
yeah,
going off of, oh, well, the pilot sucked?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like, well, yeah, but let them, like, I don't expect to go into my podcast, which, speaking of, my first podcast for the Holocron Librarian drops, what day is that going to be? It's going to drop January 6th of,
that's
beginning of next year.
that is
Um,
Thursday.
Thursday, January 6th. Um, it's going to drop it's going to be Podbeam, and I'll be dropping it to Spotify. And anybody who wants to try, like, just follow along with where we're going, and if you like Star Wars and you want to learn little bit more, this is definitely the place to be. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. It's all as the Holocron Librarian. My Twitter name was too long, so it's actually the Holocron Hold on Twitter. But you guys can find me on that, and I'll be posting new podcast episodes once a week. And it'd be like that. It's like if nobody gave me a shot, you never know what you could miss, man.
Right.
You never know what you might learn from somebody. You never know what you might learn that you like about something, as far
Right.
as this game or that movie or this show, or everybody's got a story. Everything affects everybody differently.
Right.
And sometimes you just gotta go along with the ride, man.
Yes.
Because although it might not be just fire right off the pilot,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that it ain't gonna boil up.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And with something like your podcast coming out, that's definitely something that probably will play a part. But I know you're stubborn, and I know you're hard headed, so I don't think it'll discourage you. But yeah, for those that aren't aware, with his podcast being, I don't want to say educational because obviously it's not real life history, but I'm gonna say educational and informal. There you go, informal. I do wanna throw out there to the folks that are gonna listen to it and check it out. Um, it's probably gonna be informal, and it's one of those things where it's like where some people aren't gonna dig it because it's informal, and some people are really going to deep dive into it and want to listen to every single episode, every second of every bit of information they can about the history and stuff. It's not going to be for everyone. But if you're a Star Wars fan, I can certainly say if you care about the history and the lore, it will be good. I've known the Holocron Librarian for years and years, and I know he's passionate about Star Wars. That's the one thing that has maintained over all these years. He is passionate about Star Wars. He's going to give you the lore, and it wouldn't even surprise me if he gives you lore and then they come out and say, oh, this isn't canon, and he might give you an episode or pull that episode, update it, and put it back up and say, hey,
This is what they changed.
this came out, so these are the parts that changed to this. I know he's super, super just into it.
And I'll be distinguishing. Most videos will be informal, theorized, and just knowledge pulled together. I will be doing certain videos that are straight up canon, straight up
Yeah.
legends. Uh, I don't know, but to me, it's always just been Star Wars, man. And
Right.
it's to me, if it is Star Wars, it is Star Wars.
Right.
And if it's, I mean, I'm not gonna throw out like super unpopular opinions or anything like that, like,
Mhm.
but stuff that has been documented, I'll be touching on. I'll be
Yeah.
replaying the story on. I'll be pouring my emotion to.
For sure.
That's the thing, man. It's like Star Wars. I didn't even cry at the Titanic, but episodes of the Clone Wars will get to me,
Oh,
man.
bro. I fucking Force Awakens hit theaters, bro. I cried as soon as the fucking music started playing.
It sent shivers
Dude, I'm
down
telling
my
you it
spine,
did.
goosebumps. My hair
I'm
stood up,
telling
man,
you,
and
bro.
I was in the front row. I watched it the day it came out, man, sitting at the front row, just yeah, like I wanted to feel it,
Yeah,
and I
dude, for
did, and
sure.
it was one of the best feelings, just
It's
in my heart, and my soul that I've
yeah.
had in so long.
It just takes you out of it, man. It takes you out of the rest of what's going on and just brings you into that world.
And
Um,
it turned my world to Star Wars, man.
yeah, dude.
I'm in that galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, I got you, dude. Um, to take another look at some more stuff that's coming in the future here. I'm gonna go through a real quick list of Star Wars games, and some of these are extreme rumors, and some of these we have confirmed for sure. And I will tell you if I know whether it's confirmed or not. And then we'll give our theories on one of these future games. Maybe we might stop and pop a couple theories off for some of these other ones as well. But so some of these are in order of when we're gonna see them. Some of them aren't because some of them aren't confirmed. So don't take it as any certain order or anything. But first of all, pretty soon we're getting Star Wars Hunters, which is a mobile and slash Switch competitive arena shooter game. I imagine this just is gonna be a fun little third-person shooter, like hero shooter game. I've seen some of the gameplay. They have abilities and stuff. Think like Overwatch, but Star Wars kind of stuff. A little less competitive, I would say, since it's gonna be on mobile. That doesn't make it less competitive because mobile games are actually in a very weird place where they're actually very competitive and pretty good. But we'll see what happens there, though. That could go either way. I would imagine microtransactions out the ass, which I'm not opposed to as long as they're good and cosmetic mainly. But then we have Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, which is all of the Lego Star Wars games except better that we've gotten so far. It's all of them in one place, obviously, but from what I've seen, I believe they've even gone back and made so much more of it open and big and redone graphics and stuff. As far as I'm concerned, it's a brand new experience, and that's coming very soon as well, within like next couple months, I believe. We're getting an Old Republic yeah, we're getting an Old Republic expansion for the MMO that hits on that kind of era that we were just talking about tonight, if that interested a lot of you guys. And then Star Wars The Old Republic is a great MMO, and they've really been handling it well because it's definitely had its ups and downs and player base ups and downs. But this new expansion isn't like 100% an expansion. I do believe it does expand on the story, but it's also overhauling some of the mechanics and stuff, and they're trying to change a lot of things. So we'll see how that goes. That could be really good. That comes out next month, actually, I believe. Pretty early, if I'm not mistaken. We're getting into some of the rumor territory here. Some of these are confirmed as well. Battlefront 3, maybe, maybe not. That's literally what I have written next to it in my notes is maybe, maybe not. We don't know. We didn't get Battlefront 3 from the original people that did it way back in the day. But with DICE, because EA doesn't necessarily have the exclusivity deal with Star Wars and Lucas Games or whatever, LucasArts Games anymore. So they've actually expanded, and we're gonna cover some other stuff of that in a second. But Battlefront 3 is still a maybe, like a positive maybe. because they said that they do like what they've done with DICE and stuff, even though it's been a little controversial, a little divisive, especially around Battlefront 2. But so Battlefront 3 could be cool, but my curiosity is, what are you gonna do with Battlefront 3? Like,
Right.
Battlefront 2 covered
so much in Battlefront 2.
Yeah, Battlefront 1 and 2 covered so much. So are we gonna see, because Battlefront 2 had a campaign, obviously, that I actually just recently started playing. And so there maybe are they going to hit on the campaign and hit on some stuff maybe we don't know about, or what are they going to do there? But that's a maybe or maybe not. Star Wars Eclipse, which is one that we're going to talk about here in a minute once I'm done with the list, and that looks to be amazing. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic Remake, we referenced that already plenty of times, and that is what it is. We don't know much more than that. We just know it's an Old Republic remake. We don't know if it's Ratchet and Clank style, 2016 Ratchet and Clank style, where it was, or 17 Ratchet and Clank style, where it was, like 1-for-1 remake, just way like remade from the ground up, but still pretty much the same thing. Or is it going to be bigger? Is it going to be smaller? We don't know. But it's something to look forward to either way. A sequel to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, we know for sure is happening. Jedi Fallen Order, for those of you that haven't played, is amazing. It is quite possibly one of my favorite games of all time, but for sure one of my favorite Star Wars games of all time too. It is amazing. Supermassive Star Wars game. Supermassive are the guys that make Division. So we don't know if we're getting a Division-esque open world game, but we do know it's going to be an open world Star Wars game made by Supermassive. Supermassive is under Ubisoft. What does Ubisoft usually do? Open world. So I have high hopes for that game. Not getting too hyped. I'd never let myself get hyped for anything nowadays, but could be really cool. And admittedly, even if it is Division style, I'll take it. It's more Star Wars. A Mandalorian game that has been on or off, but probably on with the recent success of the Mandalorian TV shows and the recent interest in the Mandalorian story through newer Star Wars stuff. And then a Battlefront spinoff. Battlefront spinoff coming from EA, obviously. We don't know. For all we know, that could have turned into Fallen Order or something else, one of these other things. But we know that there's been rumors of Battlefront spinoff before. Maybe that'll be Battlefront 3. Maybe we won't get a Battlefront 3. They'll spin off into something else that they've done with their story in Battlefront 2 and stuff. Or, I don't know, we'll see. But the big one here that I think everyone's recently interested in is Star Wars Eclipse. For those of you that don't know, Star Wars Eclipse is going to be a narrative experience by Quantic Dream, the people who did Detroit Become Human. Beautiful game. Great game. Beautiful in story and graphics. But, yeah, Star Wars Eclipse going to take place during the High Republic era, which is way ahead of what we were just talking about. It's quite a flash forward in time here.
Very true. So the timeline we're looking at with this new Star Wars Eclipse game is approximately 200 to 300 years before the destruction of the Death Star. This is untouched territory.
Yeah.
George Lucas didn't even dive into the High Republic very deeply. I mean, there's so many Legends comics and all this Kanan. There's some Kanan facts that have already been laid out, but there's just not ever been much on the High Republic.
Yeah, which is crazy. They're hitting it at a time where, like, I have the first High Republic book here, wherever it's at in my room. I ordered it. I got it a day before it was supposed to get here, a day before it was supposed to come out. It was really crazy. I can't seem to find it, but it is in here somewhere. Yeah, they're starting to hit on High Republic stuff, which is very interesting because, like you said, they haven't. They just haven't hit on it really. Hell, there's Legends books that don't. They even in Legends they didn't explore High Republic to an extreme extent, a lot of what they explored during the Legends novels and stuff were like things that were in between movies or after. You know, we got stories
Definitely.
that some of those came to life in some of the recent movies in Legends and stuff. And but yeah, High Republic is vastly untouched.
And that's where I feel like with the movies rumored to be in the High Republic and this Eclipse game to be in the High Republic, just what they could do, it's an open playground.
Right.
Run with it. Like there's just so much that has not been discussed about the High Republic or
Mm-hmm.
dabbed into. It's just an endless pool of what in canon and in within reasonability. It's whatever you can make out of it.
Yeah, and I'm just excited. I know there's going to be Star Wars fans. Star Wars is one of the most gate-kept properties out there, and I hate it. I love Star Wars, but I hate some of the fans of Star Wars because I guarantee you this game could come out and it could be perfect. As perfect as it needs to be for what it's trying to achieve. And there will be people that are going to have problems with it. My big advice here, just real quick before we dip into theories, is please do not listen to critics and stuff when this game comes out. If it's being made by Quantic Dream and it's a Star Wars game and a narrative experience, which means you impact the story a lot, then don't go into it so seriously. Just enjoy more Star Wars. But
Go for the ride.
yes, exactly. That's what a narrative game is supposed to be. If anybody,
Exactly.
for those that don't know quite what I'm talking about, narrative games are like Telltale games, Life is Strange games, or like I said, Detroit Become Human. These are games where you take control of characters that are cemented firmly in the story already, or new characters that they cement firmly in the story. So like you're not impacting the movies by any means or anything like that, but you're impacting some kind of story that ultimately does have ripple. And the thing with Quantic Dream that's crazy to me is Quantic Dream is one of those narrative experience places that really pays attention to the decisions made. So if this game,
They're strictly action consequence.
yes, so
What you do is what the game becomes, and that's just endless. It's endless.
yeah, so what I think would be crazy, and it probably won't happen, is what if this game does great, and they do a sequel, and they take the data gathered from the first game of what the decisions people, obviously the people that played online and stuff with internet connectivity and stuff,
Right?
what if they take those decisions and say the majority picked this, the majority picked this, and that is the canon outcome for the sequel, or something that derives from this from the story? I think that'd be
Well,
insane.
more simply put, is instead of broadening to narrow down, games like this, old school games, they've done it before. For those who played Fable 2 and Fable 3, like decisions you made during the second game, the sex of the character that you played during the second game affected the third game.
Right.
Now, different endings is where I'm hoping if they do pull sequels from this game, I'm hoping that it goes off of a different ending algorithm. It's what did you do in the last game? There are 6 endings that you can acquire. These
Yeah.
endings are mainly set in stone for the sequel to this game. Now, one of those 6 endings is where you start from, or the choices and actions consequence sequence that you've gone through the entire first game that then affects into the second game.
Right. And what's crazy about, have you played Detroit Become Human?
I haven't.
Man, you got to play it. It has over 40 possible endings.
And something like that, like just
That's insane. And
And how long has this game been in the making?
This game right here has been in the making reportedly for, where is it? I just had the number. Reportedly 18 months already in development, has no playable version right now, and is looking at probably a 2026 release. I know that's a long time, but let's face it, we live in a world with a bunch of delays. I'd rather have a long-term release date rather than a soon one, get hyped, and then it thrown out from under me.
Game like Cyberpunk.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead and tell me 10 years if it takes 10 years or whatever. Tell me however long that you need.
Right. Tell me 10 years and release it in 8.
Yeah, 100%.
Fully complete. Like, we'll be happy that way, but don't tell me a year and then, oh, well, sorry, it got pushed back or this happened or that happened and this is pushing it back and that's pushing. And just take your damn time.
Yeah, ultimately,
make the damn game and stop trying to kick out copycats of the game before.
Right. Ultimately, delays are for the better. So even if they do say 2023 or 4, and then they delay it, if the end product is good, then an end product is good. But yeah, why not? Why not just tell me? Why not just tell me 2026 right now, and then if it comes out 2025, cool, fantastic. Right. Yeah.
Then everybody will be hyped up because, hey, we got the game early, and guess what? The damn thing's completed.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good game. If you guys haven't seen the trailer for this game, by the way, if you have a 4K TV or whatever, throw this bitch in the 4K. Throw the 4K trailer on your TV and watch that shit. Because the graphics, this is in-engine from what we understand. That doesn't mean gameplay. That doesn't mean this is how the game will look. That just means using the same engine this was rendered, right? CGI trailer, but it's in engine. From what I'm aware, and it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. You could see the ripples in skin and in all kinds of stuff. But ultimately, the biggest thing for me is, guys, it's Star Wars. It's more Star Wars.
Right.
But yeah. Let's hit. It's High Republic era. We don't know a whole lot about High Republic stuff at the moment. We're learning more right now. Novels, comics, and stuff are coming out right now. And it's a big time frame right now for High Republic, which gives me hope that maybe some of the movies are going to be High Republic movies soon. Instead of what we've seen already, you know, like we've ended Skywalker Saga. Show me some High Republic stuff. Go back in time. Show me some cool stuff. I don't really care what happens after the Skywalker Saga. I'm gonna be honest with you. I want to see the stories I know a little bit brought to life. What do you think? Potentially, we see Yoda in the trailer. So we know Yoda's in there. Obviously, of course, that's High Republic era for you. Anyways, he's old.
At this point, he's probably about 600 years old.
Yeah. So. What do you think? What? Just off the wall. I mean, any. Throw some shit until it sticks. What kind of things are you thinking we will see out of this era and out of this game?
So most of anything High Republic has always just been legends. Nothing has really been canonized. The comics I've seen, the just little narrative stories from off-the-wall writers and theorists. That's all it is at this point, is just theory. It's the High Republic, and that's what gives a lot of Star Wars folks good hope, is that there hasn't been very much. They haven't dived into it as much as they've dived into the fall of the Republic, rise of the Galactic Empire under Palpatine, the fall of that, the First and Final Order, and those rises and falls.
Literally just got the first canon book. Like what? Just a few months ago. Just got the first canon High Republic book. So yeah.
So from what I've seen is, I mean, we'll see more of. Maybe they're gonna dive a little deeper into Yoda's species, because at this time, Master Yaddle is also alive. She's a part of the Jedi Council. We might be seeing a couple of Yoda's expeditions in here, man. Going whenever he actually first found the planet of Dagobah, and with the reason in which he returns, and the Sith Lord that he fights there, and the dark side that he feels, and um,
Right.
we'll actually get to see like what the purpose of the tree that Luke Skywalker, went underneath, and that at that point fought the Force vision of Darth Vader, and we might learn a little bit more of what all that's about. Maybe that'll be canonized.
Maybe a little bit.
Um,
Maybe a little bit of Darth Plagueis action.
well, it's very very well could, man. Darth Plagueis held himself together and alive by switching his essence from one body to another.
Yeah.
Who's to say how long Darth Plagueis has actually been ruling over Sith?
Right.
I mean, at the
Uh,
rule of two, I can't remember who Plagueis Master was, but I mean,
I
after that,
can't
it
either.
didn't fall far from Bane, man.
No. Yeah. Um, because the end of the Old Republic era and stuff is button up pretty close to High Republic era, like toward the beginning of High Republic era.
Yeah, what's considered the split between Old and High Republic as far
Yeah.
as looking back at it goes.
Yeah. So
Um,
Darth Plagueis' master was Tenebru. Tenebrus.
okay. Uh,
It
was somebody
was mentioned. Okay, this is canon. In the new Star Wars canon, 44th issue of Star Wars Build the Millennium Falcon, is where he's mentioned for the first time. So we actually recently got a look at and information on Plagueis' master. So that is very cool. He was a male Bith
Huh, really?
who also identified as Rugus Gnome in the novel Darth Plagueis.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I didn't know that till I literally just looked it up. I was like, yeah, who is it? I don't know if I even remember him mentioning like a mention of his master, who that was. And then yeah, that came up. Um there's a lot of legends information on him, obviously, but then if you click on the wiki, you can click the canon or legends tab. And yeah, apparently the canon information that we know about him was only pretty recent, 6 years ago.
Yeah.
But after the Disney stuff, so
Right. So diving into a little bit of what we might see, I mean, there's some more action from the Mandalorians around this time era. I had to pick my brain a bit. So there's some more action from the Mandalorians going on. Then again, fucking just destroying an entire race of people. The Athulians over a distillery planet. That
right,
was that was about 200 years before the Battle of Yavin. And then I want to say around this time era is when the corporate sector started taking over and really building money. The banking clans became neutral.
right,
Trade federations took their neutrality. Da 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 da. Discovery probably discovered a couple new races, non-space bearing people. I want to say this is when the planet Dathomir was discovered and in the Outer Rim.
yeah,
So you get to experience the whole Dathomiri tribe as far as the matriarchy society goes. Might dive into that a bit. Uh, really even know of any wars going on. Like it's the grand era of the Republic. Like
yeah.
the
It's a
Sith are just
huge.
kind of
It's a
hiding out, waiting to strike,
yeah,
while the Republic is just getting all fat and happy. And you saw what happened there. I mean,
right.
episode 3. So um,
um,
there's so much that could be happening, but to try to pinpoint what will happen, that's something. It's such an ocean. It's an ocean to dive into.
yeah,
And just to see what they're gonna bring back.
right. Huh. Um. Admittedly, I don't know a whole lot of. I only know what the book recently said about High Republic stuff. The book takes place around the what do they call it in the book? The great. Let me just search this real quick. High Republic disaster. Great hyperspace disaster.
Okay, yeah, I guess you are right. That's
which is like spoiler alert. If you guys haven't read the book, have you read the book yet?
I haven't. I do know of this this disaster and what you speak of,
The
though.
disaster was caused by again, spoiler alert for anybody that cares. The Eye of Neil, or Nile, however you want to pronounce that. Oddly similar name to one that we've spoken of tonight. It oddly happens to be spelled kind of like nihilist without the us part. We know kind of a little bit about the Nile, or whatever you want to call them. As far as I'm aware, they're a group of as the wiki says, marauders.
Sure
pirates, basically.
Yeah, like
they're
pirate
pirates.
style marauders, kind of like Hondo and his dudes.
Yeah. So there's some stuff we could see from that, and I think that would be really cool. But the books are hitting on that right now, so I'm kind of curious if they. It wouldn't surprise me if they don't steer away from that a little bit and just let the books do their thing. Because I can't imagine. I imagine everybody that's working on Star Wars lore is at some point at least knowledgeable of some other stuff that's going to happen and stuff, so that they can steer clear of or hint at or, do whatever. But at the same time, I imagine since the books are hitting on that, Quantic Dream will probably be like, let's step away from that a little bit so we don't have to worry about stepping on any toes.
Their own.
Yeah, in the storyline.
The Great Hyperspace Disaster, that was that was 200 some odd years.
Yeah. I believe. Yeah, I think the book takes place. It tells you right at the beginning of the book, but I can't reach it where it's at. It's right behind my desk in here.
Let me try to pull it up.
Light of the Jedi. The High Republic Light of the Jedi.
When did this happen?
Okay, the timeline of Light of the Jedi is 232.
Yeah, 232 BBY.
Yeah.
So for all non-Star Wars fans, it's not BBC. That's BBY, before the Battle of Yavin, or the first destruction of the Death Star.
Right.
Okay.
So that's and the book doesn't take place by any means, if I remember right, at the beginning of the High Republic era. I think it's pretty.
At that point, it would be at near the end for sure.
Yeah.
You're coming closer and closer to the episode 1. You're coming closer and closer to the actions in Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
So, granted, this is a good time before Palpatine, but depending on how far they take with this, because what they add and what they can choose to add or take away, it's not long before that. It's not long before Plagueis takes on Sidious and starts enacting his plan.
Right. I don't know, dude. There's so much they could hit there that we don't know. They could, admittedly, they could just come up with their own shit. They could just literally come out of left field and completely hit us with shit that we don't know.
That's why I'm saying it. It's just so open. It's such an open field, man. That where they could just go out, pick something up and run with it, and who's gonna
Right.
stop them, man? Because there's just this is this is a golden age for the Republic, but as far as us researchers, it's a very dark age to try to learn about
Right.
because
Yeah.
there's just not been much touched on.
Yeah, which is crazy because it's supposed to be a really, it's the height of the Republic. It's a big thing. Like it's fairly peaceful as far as Sith and Jedi go. It's fairly it's for lack of a better word and lack of a closer term, it is very near harmonious time. So it's weird because we don't know a whole lot about it, just purely because they haven't hit on it. But at the same time, yeah, there's just like not much documentation on what's going on. So, but that's what makes a game like this exciting to me is, dude, this is brand new. We're getting a brand new look at Star Wars stuff that fucking nobody knows about.
Right. I call it. Excuse. I would call it breaking away from the Lucas.
Yeah, exactly, for sure.
We're pulling away from George, good old George. Love him to death. Thank you for creating Star Wars, man. But at the same time, we've just been in this era for too long. We've
Yeah,
been
for
going
sure.
over the same
Yeah, dude, it's like it's
60, 70 years worth of knowledge
yeah,
in 9
exactly.
movies and games on top of games. And
Yes.
like it's like the old stuff that we used to touch, the stuff that used to go back and describe into deeper into better details. They're just not hitting that anymore. They're hitting for what's now, and I've seen enough of it.
Yeah,
I'm
for
getting
sure.
tired of it.
For sure. And
Take me back.
it
Like
makes sense, it's just like I don't know, it's they could there's so much that they've created this huge universe that now we see is established that there's been things going on for thousands and millions of years, basically. It's a living, thriving universe, and it's very well thought out and in some parts, and it's insane. And it's like, but you've been hitting the same 60 years, 70 years, forever. Like, it's almost like
time that we move on.
let's see, it came out in the 70s, So
77, yeah.
we're about to cross that threshold soon enough where it's like, dude, we've been experiencing that era of Star Wars for as long as that era existed, as long as that era took. Like,
The whole Skywalker series, as long as it took from Baby Annie to fucking Rey. I mean, that's about as long as we've actually been
yeah, it's
keeping up with Star Wars.
about as long as my daddy's been alive. About as long, not quite, but like it's
Getting there, man.
yeah, it's like, damn, dude, come on. So I think this is for the better that they're hitting that kind of stuff. Have you played Jedi Fallen Order?
Yes, I have.
Ooh, god damn, I like that game, bro.
Ooh, baby boy.
What a game. What a
It
game.
is. It is a game for
Yeah.
the ages. If you haven't played it, stop what you're doing and go out and get yourself a copy or bum one off a buddy.
Yeah. It's
If you are
hard.
a Star Wars fan, play that game.
Yeah,
You will not regret it. And I
uh
don't like buying new games. And I bought that game new. And I was
uh
not disappointed.
for those that aren't aware, it is a hard game. It's a Dark Souls-esque Star Wars game. It's difficult. But you can turn it on easier difficulties, no shame. But the story's crazy. I would very much recommend. It is, like I said, the stuff we were complaining about. It's right in that era still. But it is giving us a look at some stuff that we actually don't know a whole lot about canon right now, which is like
But it's
how
a break away from the Skywalker
yeah,
saga.
it's
And
it's
it's its
more
own
looking at
thing.
the Jedi as a whole and being like, how the fuck were Jedi still even halfway a thing while all this was going on? So,
Right.
So it's a good game. I'm excited for the sequel. Obviously, a sequel, we're probably just going to be looking at Cal and the rest of the gang that he's accrued, probably searching for more Jedi and Force-sensitive people and more Jedi lore. Probably trying to rebuild the Order a little bit on the underside, which is cool. I was gonna hit on Star Wars Hunters for a second. Again, I think it's more for fun. The game is more for fun. I don't think we expect to see any big major lore dumps in Star Wars Hunters by any means. It's just
it's just gonna be like a MOBA style game, League of
Yeah.
Legends.
It's
It looks like top down shooter almost.
I think it's more third person. Star Wars Hunters gameplay. I think
I actually haven't gotten a chance to watch gameplay of it, but
there's very little gameplay. There's literally 2 minutes of gameplay out right now. It's a third person shooter.
okay, I can live with that.
At least that's where the camera angle was at for the most of the gameplay, but you never know. It might actually not be. It might come out and the camera angle was just zoomed for the trailer.
Right.
But yeah, it'll be fun. I'll play it. I don't expect anything major from that. I am excited for the Lego game.
Same with that.
Yeah. I guess the biggest things here are that Eclipse game, the Knights of the Old Republic remake, obviously, the Fallen Order sequel. Mandalorian game is cool. I'm just curious. What are we seeing Mandalorian War era Mandalorians, or are we seeing like current like bounty hunter-esque Mandalorians?
Man, take me back.
Take me back, Papa.
Take me back home, Papa. I want to see the Mandalorian Wars.
And then the supermassive Star Wars game, which is the open world Star Wars game. We don't have too much of that. I mean, Knights of the Old Republic is pretty open, I guess, and Force Unleashed games and stuff are kind of
linear.
Yeah, those
very
are
open linear.
Yeah.
Which
the Old Republic itself, the MMO, the MMO is huge. But that's not open world in the generic sense. That's still kind of linear, like you were saying. It's like a narrative linear experience, but the world is open. But yeah, I'm actually more excited for the supermassive Star Wars game than a lot of these. The Eclipse game and the supermassive one, just because I kind of hope it is like Division. I know some people probably don't, but Division's a fine game. But imagine Star Wars, like hooking up with some homies and just doing some missions on just different planets or something. Like, I'm fine with that.
Destiny style?
Yeah, exactly. Destiny style would be, I guess, it's made by the Division creators, but if it's Star Wars, you're going to have to go to other planets and stuff. Probably. You could do it on one planet, but it'll probably be set on several different planets. So
short if it was like one planet, open world.
So it'd be very, very Destiny-esque. Yeah, for sure. I think that'd be cool too.
Oh yeah.
Or it could be. And I don't think we have any information on what era or anything that's supposed to hit. I'll look though. Supermassive Star Wars game. Well, of course that's gonna bring up supermassive black holes. Let's see here. Huge fan. Really proud of the games. Headed by Massive Entertainment. Or yeah, Massive. I keep saying Supermassive. It is Massive, is what it is. The company. Pfft. I've said Supermassive this whole podcast and forgot that it is Massive, not Supermassive. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. We're dedicated to creating a unique Star Wars experience and looking for talent. Oh, yeah. They're trying to hire people for the game right now because Massive underwent some of the sexual allegations that came out with all of the different allegations about different gaming companies recently. So they probably took a hit a little bit on that as well. And same actually with Eclipse. That might be why Eclipse has such a far off roundabout release date at the moment. 2026 to 7 is probably more so because they're having to hire people after firing a bunch of people. Don't diddle your coworkers, guys. give us Games. Let's play some games. Stop diddling people. It's simple as that, dude. Just make games. Just go make games. That's where you go to work for if you're a game developer, right? I think you're passionate about video games.
So, I mean,
If I was
personally, I think that's what I would do.
if
Just
I was creating games, it
make
wouldn't matter if I was a single man, dude. I'd be up there every day, more like, hey man, can we make this game do this? Like, I'm way more passionate about that. But either way, yeah. So they both of those are probably gonna be, I'd say, 10 years before we see the massive game. I know that sounds like a lot, but it's a video game. It takes time, and especially big video games. Good video games take a lot of time, so it wouldn't surprise me if it's 5 to 10 years for the massive one. Yeah. Let me just start wrapping up here real quick. I want to thank the Holocron librarian here that is with me. One more time for the people. Tell them where they're going to be able to find your stuff, roundabout when, real quick.
All right, so I'll be pushing my first podcast episode out onto Podbeam and Spotify Thursday, January 6th at the beginning of next year, so 2022. If you guys want to try to keep up to date with the episodes I'm pushing out, what they're going to be about, you can find my social media page on Instagram and TikTok. It is the Holocron Librarian. And on Twitter, it is the Holocron Hold. Facebook will be coming soon to that. I'm just now setting up all of my social media accounts. I do not have a podcast out yet, but first podcast, January 6th, 2022. Yeah, come and listen up on it. I'll be covering the Rakatan Infinite Empire, at least starting to. They're, like we said earlier, they stretch across the years.
Hell yeah. The Holocron librarian. So I'd like to just first of all, real quick, thank you for coming and doing the podcast with me, man. I've been
Thanks for having me, man.
I said it way earlier in the podcast, the very beginning, that I've been wanting to hit Star Wars games in the podcast for a little bit, and I just wasn't able to. Just because I didn't have other people that were super passionate about Star Wars games like you are, so I'm super happy to have you here with me and talking Star Wars games. And I appreciate it so much, and I appreciate the lore dump for the folks out here. Another special episode here at the beginning of Season 3. And these 2 episodes are audio only for my podcast listeners here. The rest of the episodes that I do for Season 3 will go on YouTube and everything else that are video platforms as well. But I haven't really given people something super excitable on the audio, from the audio areas for this podcast. I don't think ever. Maybe one episode before was also audio only. So yeah, these 2 episodes are audio only, and they've probably been some of my best ones, admittedly. So yeah, thank you guys for the support. Like he said, you're going to be able to find him as the Holocron Librarian most places. Holocron Hold on Twitter. And January 6th, right?
Yes, sir. January 6th.
January 6th it is, my guys. So be on the lookout for his podcast coming soon. I'm super excited for it. I know I will when I'm in the daytime, can't work on anything and just having to take care of the baby and stuff. I will probably be throwing that on to listen to while I feed her and stuff as well. So I hope you guys check it out too. And thank you guys so much. Next episode of the Dark Sky Gaming Podcast will be coming out next month, after New Year's as well. I just wanted to throw out 2 episodes here at the end of the year as kind of a surprise holiday present for you guys. Thank you guys so much for listening. Be sure to follow on whatever platforms you can find me on at Zenith Dark Sky. And be sure to follow or subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to it on, be it Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, wherever it's at, wherever you're listening to it. Please do follow and subscribe, rate us, review us, because that does help with discoverability. But the biggest marketing thing that helps podcasts is still word of mouth, even to this day. So I hope you guys will tell your friends and homies about us over here, and I will see you guys in the next episode.